Imagine for a second you're at work. You clock in at 6 o'clock a.m., bust your back all day in the scorching heat, 12 long hours. Then, right before quitting time, a guy walks in, works for literally 1 hour, and the boss pays him the exact same paycheck you just earned. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm furious. I'm rioting. That violates every instinct we have about fairness and merit. You get out what you put in, right?
Exactly, it feels like a scam. But in the text we're looking at today, Matthew chapters 20 and 21, Jesus opens with exactly that story, and he doesn't tell it to make us angry at a boss, he tells it to explain the kingdom of heaven. It sets a really jarring tone for this section. We are walking into some heavy conflict here.
We really are. This is day 305 of the reading, and we are nearing the climax of the narrative. Jesus is heading to Jerusalem, and he starts with this parable of the workers in the vineyard. And you're right, the visceral reaction is that's unfair. But Jesus is pivoting the entire conversation from wages to generosity.
Right, the master in the story says, "Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me, or do you begrudge my generosity?"
That's the key. The first workers got justice. They got what they agreed to. The last workers got grace. The scandal isn't that the master is unjust. It's that he's incredibly kind to people who don't deserve it. Jesus is dismantling the idea that we can earn our standing with God. In his kingdom, the last are first, and the first are last.
And that phrase, "the last will be first," it seems to be the thematic glue for everything that happens next, because immediately after dropping this bombshell about grace, we see the disciples completely missing the point. Again,
It's almost comedic, isn't it? Jesus literally just finishes predicting his own death. He tells them he's going to be mocked, flogged, and crucified, and the next scene is the mother of James and John kneeling down to ask for a favor.
it's the ultimate "Mom, can you ask him for me?" moment. She wants her sons to sit on his right and left hand. They are talking about thrones while Jesus is talking about a cross.
Precisely. They are still operating on the world's power structure. They think the Messiah is about to kick out the Romans and set up a political cabinet. They want the VP spots. But Jesus looks at them and asks, "Can you drink the cup that I am about to drink?"
Which is a heavy metaphor. He's talking about suffering, right?
Yes, the cup of God's wrath, the suffering of the crucifixion. They say, "We can," but they have no idea what that means yet. And then the other 10 disciples get indignant, not because they are humble, but because they're jealous they didn't ask first.
So Jesus has to call a timeout. And this definition of leadership he gives, I feel like it's quoted constantly, but it's so radical we numb ourselves to it. Whoever would be great among you must be your servant.
Bond servant, or slave even. He contrasts it with the Gentile rulers who lord it over people. In the Roman world, power is the ability to force others to serve you. In Jesus' kingdom, power is the capacity to serve others. He caps it with that famous line, "The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." That is the thesis statement of his entire mission.
It's the upside down kingdom. Down is up. Servants are leaders. And then, to prove the point, as they leave Jericho, two blind men shout for him. The crowd tells them to shut up because, important people don't have time for beggars. But Jesus stops.
He serves them. He asks, "What do you want me to do for you?" It's the same question he asked the mother of James and John, by the way. But the blind men don't ask for power, they ask for sight, and they get it. It's a beautiful transition into chapter 21 because now we are finally entering Jerusalem.
The triumphal entry, Palm Sunday, this is the moment everyone has been waiting for, but even this feels different. He's not on a war horse.
No, and that's deliberate. He sends the disciples to find a donkey and a colt. He's fulfilling a prophecy from Zechariah about a king coming in humility. If you rode a horse, you were coming for war. If you rode a donkey, you were coming in peace. He is declaring himself king, absolutely, but not the kind of king who conquers with a sword.
But the crowd is hyped. They're shouting Hosanna, spreading cloaks on the road. It feels like a coronation.
It is a coronation, but the tension is thick. The city is stirred up, the text says. The religious leaders are watching this, and they are seething. And then Jesus does something that probably shocked everyone. He doesn't go to the palace to fight Pilate. He goes to the temple.
And flips the tables. This is the angry Jesus that makes people uncomfortable.
It's a controlled, righteous fury. He drives out the money changers. You see, the temple was supposed to be the place where heaven and earth met, a house of prayer. But they had turned it into a den of robbers. They were monetizing access to God. By clearing it out, he's not just throwing a tantrum, he's claiming authority over the holiest site in Judaism. He's saying, "This is my Father's house, and you are wrecking it."
And right after clearing out the merchants, the blind and the lame come to him in the temple and he heals them. I love that contrast. He kicks out the exploiters to make room for the hurting.
Exactly. He restores the temple to its true purpose. But notice the reaction of the chief priests. They see the miracles, they hear the children shouting, "Hosanna!" and they are indignant. They ask, "Do you hear what these are saying?" They want him to shut it down.
And he quotes scripture back at them to defend the kids. Out of the mouth of babes, it's a mic drop moment. But then we get this weird incident the next morning. The fig tree. He's hungry, sees a tree with leaves but no fruit, and curses it. It withers instantly. To a modern reader, this looks petty. I'm hungry, no food, die, tree. What is actually happening here?
It's an enacted parable. Remember, in the Old Testament, Israel is often described as a fig tree or a vineyard. Jesus just came from the temple, a place that had a lot of activity, a lot of leaves, lots of religious ritual, but no spiritual fruit, no justice, no mercy.
So the tree is a symbol of the temple leadership?
Exactly. It looked alive, but it was spiritually dead. Cursing the tree was a prophetic sign that the current religious system was under judgment and would wither away. It's a warning about hypocrisy. Looking the part means nothing if there's no fruit.
That connects perfectly to the confrontation that follows. The chief priests finally corner him and ask, "By what authority are you doing these things?" They want to know who gave him the badge to flip tables.
And Jesus, being the master debater, traps them. He asks about John the Baptist. Was his baptism from heaven or from men? It's brilliant. If they say heaven, they admit they should have listened to him. If they say men, the crowd will riot because the people loved John.
So they pull the politician move, "We don't know."
Which gives Jesus the opening to drop 3 devastating parables. We see 2 of them here. The parable of the 2 sons and the parable of the tenants. The 2 sons is simple. One says no, but does the work. The other says yes, but does nothing. Jesus looks the religious leaders in the eye and says, "Tax collectors and prostitutes are entering the kingdom before you."
That had to sting. He's telling the most religious people that the moral outcasts are ahead of them because the outcasts actually repented.
It's the first shall be last concept coming back around. But the parable of the tenants is the dagger. A landowner plants a vineyard, again, that symbol of Israel, and leases it to farmers. When he sends servants to collect the fruit, the farmers beat and kill them. Finally, he sends his son, thinking, "They will respect my son."
But they don't. They say, "This is the heir. Let's kill him and seize the inheritance." It's a direct allegory of what they are about to do to Jesus.
It is chillingly accurate. Jesus is looking them in the face and telling them their own plot. He's saying, "I know you're going to kill me." And then he quotes Psalm 118 about the stone the builders rejected becoming the cornerstone. He warns them that the kingdom will be taken away and given to a people producing its fruit.
And the text says they perceived he was speaking about them. They knew. But instead of repenting, they just wanted to arrest him even more. They were only stopped by fear of the crowds.
It shows the hardness of their hearts. They are so obsessed with holding on to their authority, their little lease on the vineyard, that they are willing to kill the owner's son. It brings us back to that first story. The workers in the vineyard resented the master's generosity. Here, the tenants resent the master's ownership. It's all about control.
It really forces a question on the listener. We usually identify with the good guys in stories. But these chapters force us to ask, am I the worker angry that someone else got grace? Am I the disciple wanting a throne? Am I the tenant wanting the inheritance without the king?
That's the haunting beauty of Matthew's narrative. It strips us naked. It shows us that religious proximity to Jesus isn't enough. You can be in the temple, you can be a disciple, you can be a first in society, and still miss the kingdom entirely. The kingdom is for the blind who scream for mercy, the tax collectors who repent, and the workers who know they don't deserve the paycheck.
It's a kingdom of grace, but it's also a kingdom of absolute authority. You can't negotiate with this king. You either fall on the stone and are broken in a humble way, or the stone falls on you and crushes you.
That's the choice. As he enters Jerusalem, the lines are drawn. The cross is coming into view, and everyone has to decide which side of that stone they're going to be on.
A heavy but necessary place to pause. We're walking up to Jerusalem with him. The tension is only going to get higher from here.
Absolutely. The conflict is set. The king is in his city, and the clock is ticking.
We'll pick up right there next time. Thanks for listening.
If you have been blessed by this, please like, subscribe, and share this joy with others. God bless.